Welcome to Common Sense Defense. My name is Ptolemy Pruden, and on this episode of Common Sense Defense, we're going to be talking about the importance of arming 10 amphibious and auxiliary platforms per year for the support of distributed operations by utilizing HIMARS, precision strike missiles, and the anti-ship, anti-surface mode. Yes, there's a big jawbreaker. There's a whole lot of discussion, but basically, and in essence, it's about upgunning our platforms so they can have longer range and provide more of a threat to our adversary. So this is the point. This is the fourth point out of our Build Our Navy points for changing the trajectory of our Navy's acquisition of new platforms. And this is the second and the last of this series about dealing with amphibious platforms and auxiliary platforms. So I want to kind of go through this and take a little bit of time going through the nuts and bolts of this shift in operation because it talks about using precision strike missiles and on the platforms to launch and to sink and to strike land targets and to strike maritime targets, which are ships. So I want to kind of talk through that and just kind of walk you through that process so that you can understand the importance of using traditional platforms in a dissimilar way, in a way that is not the norm, and in an asynchronous mode. And I think that's kind of really what I'm talking about. And so let's kind of look at that. Let's look really quick at what an amphibious platform is, and let's look at what an auxiliary platform is, and then we'll go forward from there. So first of all, as we stated for the last couple of podcasts, we talked about amphibious vehicles, and those are platforms that goes from one country or one part of the world to the other part of the world, carrying marine amphibious units, about 800 troops to 1,200 troops, and their equipment, and being able to deliver those to anywhere around the globe in a short period of time, and also to carry out international and international presence operations, meaning where you, instead of having a carrier strike group, you can have an amphibious strike group in an area, because the amphibious strike groups also carry Aviate-Bs, which are Harrier jump jet planes, and they also carry F-35Bs, which are the latest Lightning II platforms that. So when you talk about the modern amphibious strike group, it's got a whole lot of capability from an armaments perspective. Um, those platforms are we have 31, or shooting for, or driving for having 31 platforms as a standard operational capability. I want to also now talk about the auxiliaries. So the Military Sea Lift Command, which is paid, as we stated in our last podcast, which is a civilian group, is manned primarily by civilians. It's used to transport our men and material from one place to another, from pre pre pre-positioned equipment to the front lines. And so they have like 30 or 40 ships that are in varying states of readiness. We need to replace them, actually, but those platforms is where they use to transport ships, like vehicles and weapons and storage equipment from one location 4,000 or 5,000 miles to the next location. So the pre-positioned stores that we have, whether in Diego Garcia or whether in different parts of the world, that's how that's done, so that we can have a fast capability to ramp up ground combat globally. All right, so let's talk about this concept. Now, when you have most ships, I'd say 90% of the ships have a helipad or helicopter deck where helicopters can come in, land, offload people, pick up people, offload supplies, pick up supplies. It's a normal capability that all the ships have. And what I want to do, and this is similar to what Congress asked the Navy to do some years ago, which was arming amphibious platforms with missiles, anti-ship missiles, or long-range strike capability, tomahawks, what have you. And so this is no different than what Congress asked the Department of Navy to give a position paper on, or research paper on, or position to show what they're trying, to kind of flesh out what that looks like. And that was not done. I mean, that report was done, but the actions were not done. So now here we are. 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and we still have plenty of auxiliaries and plenty of amphibious ships that absolutely are not even considered to be used as platforms to fire missiles. I'm submitting today that that needs to be the top priority because we have the platform sitting there and they have the capability. So now let's look at this. Um, First, we're going to go a quick run through about the HIMARS system. As we talked about the last time, the HIMARS system is a high mobility artillery rocket system, and it typically fires has 6 tubes on it that fires missiles out to about 50 miles. There is an extended missile capability. It's called the extended range guided missile launch rocket system, and that extended range one has is now pushed out to I think 93 miles. Next to that is the precision strike missile. That missile can go up to 300 miles, 310 miles. That's what I'm primarily talking about today for maritime strike. Let me read a quick section to you out of Naval News. This is from, I believe this is out of the this is from this was the author for this was a gentleman by the name of Peter Ong, and he has a quote in here from General James McConnell, which was at the time of this was the chief of staff of the Army at virtual ASU USA Global Force Net, where he talks about this point here. He says the ability to link. He wants to link joint shooters to the right command and control node. Small units will need to be able to operate in their own. The U.S. Army remains relevant in the Indo-Pac region to provide options for the combat commanders for MDO, which is multi-domain operations. The multi-domain task force will provide long-range precision fires, cyber, space, and deterrence, hypersonic defense, etc. It is linking these different capabilities as a fabric to be able to launch precision fires, launch electronic warfare, whatever, from anywhere within the Indo-Pacific. So he's talking about everybody working together. The Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, Space Force, all working together to have a multi-domain picture and strike, attack, defense capability in theater. This is very similar to how inevitably, when it's all over said and done, there's this platform called JADC2, Joint All Domain Command and Control, Joint All Domain Command and Control, JADC2, and having the ability to detect a enemy target and be able to identify it, detect it, and launch a strike against it. That is the capability that we now have, and we will continue to develop. We've just started that capability and researching it and developing it and rolling it out. But as the years progress, as the next 2 and 3 years progress, we will be able to use any platform, whether it's on an island, whether it's on an unmanned ship, whether it's on a large ship. We will be able to plug that system into the JADC2 backbone and strike and launch a strike on a ship or aircraft or a submarine. And so I am saying that to say, when you have an amphibious vehicle or you have an auxiliary vehicle, a ship that is out there, there is nothing wrong with putting on the flight deck a HIMARS system that is already designed to plug into the Naval Integrated Fire and Control System or the JADC2 system, plug in and launch. So that's a capability of lethality that we do not need to neglect. And that's really what I want to share is that we have all these ships. We have plenty of HIMARS systems. They're just the other day came out with order that we're planning to order another 300, 400 platforms. So the point is that is going to be the future. HIMARS will be the future. Now, I will also state that the Marines have an autonomous platform. I believe it's called the Nemesis. The Army has its autonomous platform for HIMARS that it's going to be able to launch missiles autonomously. Now, any one of those capabilities, you can put those on the deck, or you can put a containerized HIMARS system on there where it's on a 9x9 and put it inside and you roll it out, lock it down, and launch it. So in any capacity, that is more the future, more so than the past. And we need to get the Navy thinking outside of the box so that there can be more lethality added to its capability. Here's a quote from General David Berger. He says, his focus on competition, how to maintain an edge so that we can compete every day, every week. And that's what this is all about, is the ability to compete every day and every week. And as we're looking at dealing with this China's expansion and its influence in the Indo-Pacific, we have to make sure that our forces have the capability to stand up to those threats. I want to finish in one last part here, and I'll read a couple paragraphs here about from the Naval News segment. It says, alluding to U.S. Army General James McConnell's comments, if the U.S. Marine Corps is to operate as independent small units as envisioned by the United States Marine Corps General David Berger, HIMARS armed with precision strike missiles would be instrumental in a land attack and anti-ship role, especially if the missile's range is increased to 310 to 1,100 miles, and the nose cones are fitted with an advanced seeker that can track moving targets. A missile that has a dual functional method of seeking and tracking both moving land and sea targets would mean that one or a few HIMARS can effectively deter a broader assortment of moving enemy threats and can provide much better effective deterrence than the existing precision strike missile that just uses advanced GPS guidance against stationary targets and currently has no secret to target moving enemy targets. Last thing I want to say about this is the U.S. Navy hovercrafts, landing craft, and light amphibious warship, the law, would not have to beach and unload the HIMARS if the precision strike missile's long range is enough to reach out and fire from the ship itself, such as from the helicopter flight deck, as demonstrated from the flight deck of the San Antonio class amphibious transport dock ship, the USS Anchorage, the LPD-23, during the Dawn Blitz 2017, which was in October 22nd, or the flight deck of an upcoming light amphibious warfare ship. So the point that he's making in this article from Naval News, and the point that I'm making is basically the same point. We have to see outside the parameters that systems are being used currently and think outside the box and say we need to increase our lethality and increase our lethality inexpensively. I believe the HIMARS system is, I think, $7.5 million, and the individual missiles are, I think, $800,000 to $1.5 million a pop. So you're looking at moving onto an amphibious ship, or an auxiliary ship, one of those missile systems, one of those launchers, or two of those launchers, and having the capability to have reloads there, and all of a sudden you're looking at increasing the threat ring of that ship 300 miles. That's just phenomenal. And that's on the cheap. That is inexpensively. So when you can add 5 or 10 more platforms in theater that have the capability of firing, because guess what? When the shooting starts, those platforms are not going to be left untouched. It doesn't matter whether those platforms are manned by civilians or military personnel or robots. Those ships will be targeted. It doesn't matter. It's if they are contributing to the success of the United States military, then those ships will be targeted by Chinese platforms or any adversary's platforms. So the calculus has to be, we need to use those platforms to expand lethality throughout the fleet. So now the precision strike missile. Let me go through a couple of points here about it. You already know about it's launched off of HIMARS. You already know the guidance for the HIMARS for the precision strike missile is inertial navigation system with global positioning system, and this is from Lockheed Martin, which makes the precision strike missile. This is from their their information. So it uses an insensitive munition, and it also has the performance. It works in really hot and ambient conditions as well as cold. The platform has 100% flight test success ratio. So 310 miles on a platform that costs $7 million launcher, um, being able to add lethality, to me, it's a no brainer. And that's why I'm proposing that we develop the capability for 2 HIMARS launchers per ship to be available. on amphibious ships and auxiliaries. So when it's all over said and done, you can count on those platforms providing tubes to launch anti-ship capability, and anti-surface capability, and changing the threat matrix in the Indo-Pacific, and changing the ability for the United States to increase its lethality and be that much more capable on a global scale. Hey, I appreciate you taking this time. We appreciate all the support. Have a great day and be strong out there. Thank you so much.